I was humiliated by my mother-in-law during my father-in-law's 60th birthday celebration. In front of all our relatives, she scolded me for the supposedly unattractive meal I had prepared. She's not only unattractive, but also inept. I'm truly ashamed. What a disaster, she declared. Where was my dependable husband, who always cared for me? Was he tending to our daughter? He was nowhere to be found. As soon as I arrived at my in-laws' house, feeling fit as a fiddle, my mother-in-law suddenly complained of chronic back pain and became unable to move. When the party preparations began, she delegated all the work to me. Later, she continued to belittle me in front of our gathered relatives, turning the once lively and cheerful mood into something resembling a wake. Then my father-in-law stood up and broke the silence. "Is that all you have to say?" No one could have foreseen the series of unimaginable events that this single phrase would trigger. "I'm Sarah, and I'm 35 years old. 6 years ago, I married my husband Michael, who was 3 years younger than me. We also have a 5-year-old daughter. My mother-in-law has seemed displeased with me since I was older than her son. Every time I visited her house during New Year's, Memorial Day, or national holidays, she'd make sarcastic remarks at me in my husband's absence. I wish I had a younger, vibrant, and cuter daughter-in-law, not a woman full of age spots like you. Do I really look that old?" "Yes, very. Don't you see your own face in the mirror every day? It hurts to be criticized about your appearance, especially as a woman. But I thought it was better not to make a big deal of it, since we only met a few times a year." However, this seemed to irritate her even more, and she began to use harsher words. "You're quite thick-skinned for an old woman. You don't get upset no matter what I say. I find it annoying that you don't show a shred of modesty." Yeah. What could I say to my mother-in-law, who only said things that left me at a loss for words? In front of my husband, she hid her true dark nature and spoke kind words to me. My husband seemed to have no idea that I was being mistreated by her. If I were to accidentally vent my frustrations, I would likely be the one blamed, so I've always held back. Visiting the house with my mother-in-law present felt truly burdensome. However, it was a significant celebration for my kind father-in-law's 60th birthday. Many relatives were gathering, and we were having a grand event, so I decided to attend. My father-in-law is a quiet man who doesn't talk much, but he enveloped me in his subtle kindness. When I was feeling down because of my mother-in-law's nasty words, he would gently approach me and speak to me. "Sarah, if you're having a hard time, feel free to tell me. If it's all right, I'd like to be there for you." I wondered if my father-in-law realized that I was being harassed by my mother-in-law. Perhaps to protect me from further harassment, he refrained from openly supporting me but offered his kindness subtly. To celebrate such a warm-hearted father-in-law, our family left early in the morning and drove 3 hours to our in-laws' house. I was feeling under the weather with a low-grade fever and lingering fatigue, so my husband Michael took it upon himself to do all the driving. Upon reaching my in-laws' place, my mother-in-law stepped lightly out of the front door with a gleeful expression. Well, look who's here. It's been a while. Michael, you should show your face more often. Oh dear, you look tired." "Well, I've been driving nonstop, so it can't be helped." "I see, you've worked hard. I'll get the bed ready right away. Why don't you go rest in the back room?" "I think I'll take you up on that. Sarah, you should get some rest too. You've been taking care of the kid in the car. You must be tired. Besides, you don't seem well." "Oh dear, Michael, you didn't know. I called Sarah yesterday, and we planned to go shopping together for the 60th birthday celebration. You go and rest. Sarah, once you've put the luggage at the entrance, we'll head out. Of course, no such communication had come, and I don't remember making any such shopping promise. Having looked after our energetic 5-year-old daughter, I'm exhausted, and since I'm not feeling well, I'd like to rest too. Since Sarah's not feeling well, let her rest. The shopping can be done by you. But it's your father's big celebration. I want to choose the best ingredients with Sarah. Sarah, you'll keep your promise with me, right? She certainly knew how to make a good excuse without giving me a chance to refuse. After setting down the luggage, she forcefully pulled me by the arm and shoved me back into the car we had just gotten out of. Then, glaring at me fiercely, she snapped, "I don't think you need time to rest." However, right after that, she switched her expression to a big smile and loudly said, "Thank you for driving the car. I'm so happy." Knowing my mother-in-law, if I opposed her now, it would surely make the whole day a disaster. I reluctantly got into the driver's seat. "I'm fine, Michael. You just rest. I'll go shopping with mother-in-law." As I tried to hand over our daughter to Michael, mother-in-law took her from my arms and swiftly seated her in the child's seat, quickly closing the door. Looking after the child is a mother's duty. "Well, Michael, we're off." Once she got into the passenger seat, her sweet tone from before completely changed as she started berating me. "So, you can't even look after your child properly. Stop using Michael for your convenience. You're just an incompetent daughter-in-law who's only aged." What was terrifying was that she maintained the sweet facade since Michael was still nearby. Oblivious, he waved us goodbye. I drove my husband's unfamiliar car toward a large supermarket. Of course, there was no way my mother-in-law would stay quiet during the drive, and she started lecturing me right away. "I'll make you regret lazing around while making my son drive." "Mother-in-law, please don't say such scary things. I've been feeling feverish and fatigued since this morning." "Your poor health is due to your bad management. Also, your crow's feet have increased, and the spots on your cheeks have darkened. I can't even bear to look, and your skin has lost its elasticity." I had lost all my energy to respond to her harsh words and barely managed to arrive at the supermarket, nodding along the way. "This is really exhausting. I wonder how all the other daughters-in-law in the world manage to endure such treatment from their mothers-in-law." My high-spirited mother-in-law, without even a word of thanks, jumped out of the car and swiftly handed me to shopping carts. "You're so slow, get a move on." When I tried to avoid the crowds, she swiftly moved forward, filling the shopping basket with luxury foods like USDA prime beef, crab, salmon roe, and melons. Then, she started to add things clearly not needed for the day. "Mother-in-law, do we need these urgently?" I asked. "We're bulk buying, so we don't have to come to the supermarket again and again. You should know that without being told," she replied. Feeling helpless, I let her do as she pleased. By the time we finished shopping, the two baskets were piled high. "We're going to check out. Hurry up, stop dilly-dallying." Despite her rush, when it came time to pay at the counter, my mother-in-law showed no intention of taking out her wallet. "Mother-in-law, the payment," I began, but with her hands folded behind her, she didn't move an inch. When I asked for the money again, she glared at me and got angry. "You should pay for everything." "Excuse me," I stammered. "As a wife, it's your duty to entertain your husband's father. Don't be stingy and just pay." I ended up having to pay a total of $300 at the cash register to avoid making a scene. Not having any cash on me, I paid with my credit card. As a part-time worker trying to raise a child, this was a significant blow to my finances. To make matters worse, I had brought $300 as a birthday gift for my father-in-law's 60th birthday, but I couldn't use that. The expense meant I would have to cut back even more on our living costs in the future, and the burden that had already been heavy just became even heavier. I was unsure how to bring this up with Michael, reporting it could lead to a confrontation with my mother-in-law. During the drive home, she continued to hurl a barrage of insults at me, each one more creative than the last. When we arrived home, Michael was still asleep, likely exhausted from the trip. Seeing this, my mother-in-law seized the opportunity to press her advantage. "After you put away the groceries, go weed the garden immediately. Can I please rest for a bit? You have no right to defy your mother-in-law. This is the consequence of making Michael drive alone." "So, this is what you want," I murmured, trying to hide my frustration. "If you have time to complain, you have time to work. Hurry up. After eating, clean the bathroom and the toilet." Despite the unfairness, I had no choice but to endure her demands for the day. I weeded the garden and scrubbed the grimy, yellow-stained bathroom and toilet. I kept thinking that once the 60th birthday celebration was over, I wouldn't have to deal with my mother-in-law for a while. Just as I finished cleaning, Michael woke up and looked surprised to see me. "Sarah, are you okay? If you're not feeling well, don't overwork yourself. Take a break." "Thank you, I'll take you up on that. Ouch, that hurts." As I was about to lie down, my mother-in-law suddenly let out a loud cry, clutching her back. Despite her earlier vitality, she now complained about sudden back pain. She had always been so composed in front of Michael, but now she spoke with a weak, sorrowful tone. "This is troublesome. My back hurts so much. I can't do anything. My chronic back pain has flared up again. I won't be able to cook before the relatives arrive. Sarah, you're my only hope. What should I do?" Her distress seemed a bit staged, but if her chronic back pain was real, then she truly couldn't stand in the kitchen. Reluctantly, I mustered the strength to keep going, asked Michael to look after our daughter, and began preparing the meal. "Sarah, are you sure you're okay?" "I'm fine. I always cook, remember." I put on a brave face for my husband, but I was already exhausted. It was an important day for my father-in-law, and I felt I couldn't afford to take a break. My head was spinning, and the smell of food was making me nauseous, but I had to keep going for his sake. Once I managed to finish cooking, my father-in-law came into the kitchen to check on me. "You've worked hard. Thank you for preparing all this food." "Not at all. It's for you. Please enjoy it later." As the relatives began arriving, the atmosphere became lively with well wishes for my father-in-law. Just as we finished the toast and were about to start eating, my mother-in-law made a shocking announcement. "I'm sorry, everyone, but due to my chronic back pain flaring up on this important birthday celebration, my daughter-in-law had to cook everything. I apologize for the unappetizing food made by my unattractive daughter-in-law." Both my father-in-law and husband were taken aback by my mother-in-law's sudden outburst. My daughter-in-law is not only unattractive but also clumsy, a total failure. It's truly pitiful. Ouch. My mother-in-law exaggeratedly rubbed her back, continuing to belittle me. "She's so clumsy that without my support, she can't do anything. I wonder if she can even take care of her own child. I'm worried about whether Michael can manage with such a woman as his wife." What was meant to be a festive occasion quickly turned somber, as if it were a wake rather than a celebration. My usually supportive husband, who was supposed to be looking after our daughter, was nowhere to be found. At that moment, my father-in-law, who had been sitting quietly, suddenly stood up. "Is that all you wanted to say?" "Ha! Seems like it. Maybe we should kick out the useless one then. With that, my husband entered the room holding our daughter and a suitcase. His expression was unusually stern. Dad, as you said, I've packed her stuff. My mother-in-law's face lit up with a smug smile. Sarah, looks like you're getting kicked out. To her surprise, my husband handed the suitcase to her. What? My father-in-law's booming voice added the final blow. Take that and get out of this house right away. Although initially stunned, my mother-in-law quickly understood the situation. Why should I be the one kicked out? It's Sarah who's useless. The bathroom is always covered in mold, the toilet left dirty, and you call Sarah useless while you barely lift a finger and treat her so harshly. I've had enough. It's the mother-in-law's duty to discipline the daughter-in-law. I was only pointing out her shortcomings. Discipline? What era do you think we're living in? Realizing that my father-in-law's anger would not turn in her favor, my mother-in-law resorted to her usual theatrics, beginning to cry to my husband. Michael, don't misunderstand. We might need to care for your father someday, right? I was only trying to teach Sarah how to be a good wife, even if it was tough. Care for him? That's a joke. I'm not falling for your manipulations anymore. You've just been bullying Sarah. Even today, despite feeling unwell, she came here to celebrate Dad's 60th birthday. Sarah volunteered to come, didn't she? Don't lie. You also made her pay for the groceries, didn't you? I found a receipt in her bag when she was getting candies for our daughter. It shows she paid with her credit card. I just asked her to pay because I didn't have cash on hand. I intended to pay her back, honestly. Really? If I hadn't noticed, you would have kept quiet about it. I've put up with the usual mother-in-law and daughter-in-law issues. But this is going too far. I'm fed up with living with someone so spiteful. Seeing that both my husband and father-in-law were turning against her, my mother-in-law resorted to her usual theatrics, tears streaming down her face. No, I haven't said anything, but it's clear that you've been bullying me, isn't it? For the sake of my father-in-law and my husband, who had gone to great lengths for me, I found the courage to speak the truth. I would no longer let my mother-in-law have her way. That's right. We heard about it from Mia. We also know about the nasty comments you made about Sarah at the supermarket and in the car. After that, you made Sarah do all the weeding and cleaning. Yeah, Grandma was mean to Mommy. She made her clean a lot of places. You can't trust what a child says. Mia doesn't lie. Let's check the dashcam footage. That should clear things up. Michael, could you do that? Good idea. Sarah, I'll do it right away. What's that? Ignoring his mother's question, Michael went outside to the car, started the engine, and began playing the dashcam footage. The device, which records both the interior and exterior of the car, clearly captured everything. It's showing. She was saying those things. I'm shocked. Everyone, come and see this. The relatives who had gathered to witness the scene all watched the footage and reacted with dismay. This is terrible. Wow, this is the worst. As the tension mounted, my mother-in-law, who had been insisting she was innocent, suddenly panicked and dashed barefoot toward the car. Her swift movement surprised everyone, given her supposed back pain. So the back pain was just an act. I'm all better now. She attempted to awkwardly seat herself in the driver's seat to turn off the dash cam, but my father-in-law held her firmly, preventing her from moving. Stop this right now. Don't look. With all her misdeeds exposed, my mother-in-law, stunned and speechless, sank down helplessly. That's when my father-in-law calmly handed her a single piece of paper. I've filled out my section. You just need to complete yours and submit it. What? Is this a divorce form? I prepared it just in case. I never thought I'd actually need it. Don't ever come to my doorstep again. Wait, I promise I'll change. Please, Sarah, forgive me. Seeing my mother-in-law's tearful plea was disheartening, but it felt like just another act. I stood my ground and pushed her away. You've exposed your mistreatment of your daughter-in-law. I can't forgive you. It's best if you leave before the neighbors gather. Oh no, this is awful. The commotion drew the attention of the neighbors, who watched from a distance. Not wanting to attract more attention, she quickly took the divorce form and her suitcase, her supposed back pain miraculously gone. She hurried out of the garden, with the problem resolved. I returned home, feeling a pang of guilt. I'm sorry for all this on your 60th birthday, Dad. He reassured me with a kind smile. Sarah, you did nothing wrong. I'm sorry for all the trouble we've caused. Let's start fresh. The relatives, with warm expressions, also showed their support. Later, they praised the dishes I had prepared, and we celebrated my father-in-law's birthday in a grand manner. The exhaustion I felt seemed to lift, replaced by a sense of relief. My mother-in-law, though initially hesitant, agreed to the divorce. It was later revealed that she had been misappropriating funds from my father-in-law's account and was ordered to repay $10,000. Struggling to find work due to her lack of experience, she now works as a night janitor in an office building and lives in a rundown apartment. Meanwhile, I discovered I was pregnant with my second child. The discomfort I'd been feeling was due to the pregnancy. 5 months later, my husband Michael has been incredibly supportive. The ultrasound revealed we're expecting a boy, and both Michael and my father-in-law are eagerly anticipating his arrival. My father-in-law even sent over blue baby clothes. My daughter is thrilled at the prospect of having a younger brother and practices taking care of her dolls every day. Watching her brings me immense joy.